Hi dear, welcome to your favorite audiobook channel Wisdom Flicks, How to Read Minds Without Saying a Word. Why read this book? This book unlocks the powerful skill of understanding people beyond words by mastering the art of silent communication. Whether you want to deepen relationships, improve negotiations, detect hidden emotions, or enhance your emotional intelligence, learning to read minds without speaking gives you a unique edge. It teaches you how to observe, interpret, and respond to nonverbal cues with empathy and respect, transforming how you connect and communicate in every aspect of life. Introduction. The language no one teaches there is a language that every human speaks, yet few consciously understand. It is not taught in school, not tested in exams, and not found in textbooks. And yet, it is the most powerful form of communication we possess. This is the language of the body. The language of movement, posture, eye contact, stillness, tone, silence, and subtle facial shifts. It is silent, involuntary, and often more honest than any spoken word. People are always speaking, even when their mouths are closed. Imagine walking into a room and knowing who feels anxious, who's attracted to whom, who's lying, and who's hiding something. Imagine being able to spot fear beneath a smile, detect confidence in stillness, and see hesitation in the flick of an eye. This is not magic. It is observation. It is a learned ability. It is a skill that in every interaction, beneath every conversation, lies a second dialogue. Most people ignore it. But the people who succeed in business, leadership, relationships, and influence, these are the ones who learn to read it. They don't just hear words. They interpret intention. They recognize emotion. They understand truth, even when it's unspoken. This book is your guide to decoding that hidden language. Contrary to popular belief, reading minds isn't about supernatural gifts or psychic intuition. It's about mastering the cues that human beings constantly give away. Our bodies betray our thoughts. Our expressions leak our emotions. And our gestures often shout the truth, even when our lips are silent. The modern world is flooded with noise, emails, messages, debates, lectures, instructions, conversations. But in the middle of this chaos, the most important signals remain quiet. They are nonverbal. They are instinctual. They are ancient. Before humans ever formed languages, we relied on body movements and vocal tones to survive, to detect threat, to recognize safety, to choose who to trust. Today, those instincts still guide us. The problem is, we've stopped paying attention to them. Most people are taught what to say. Few are taught how to watch. But the moment you begin to observe, to really see, not just look, you begin to notice what others miss. You become aware of how people reveal themselves without realizing it. You begin to hear the unspoken conversation in every situation. Reading body language isn't about judgment, it's about insight. It's not about manipulation, it's about connection. When you understand the signals others are sending, you respond better. You become more empathetic, more precise, and more confident. You gain the power to navigate tension, resolve conflict, build rapport, and avoid danger that you'll no longer ask, what did they mean by that? You'll know that you'll begin to see through performances. You'll notice when someone's smile doesn't match their eyes, when someone's words don't align with their posture, or when someone's handshake hides uncertainty. You'll gain clarity in both casual interactions and high-stakes environments. And just as importantly, you'll learn how to control your own signals, how to project calm, confidence, and influence through your body without saying a word. This book will not only open your eyes, it will train them. Each chapter will walk you through one layer of this silent communication, from the micro movements of the eyes and the subtle expressions of the face to the stance of the body and the position of the feet. You'll learn how emotions show up in physical form, how truth and lies look different when unspoken, and how the mind constantly speaks. If you know what to look for, reading minds, in this context, is not a trick. It's a skill, a human skill. And once you have it, it will change the way you see the world. Welcome to the language no one teaches until now. Chapter 1. What people say without speaking. Long before humans spoke their first words, we communicated through movement, sound, and expression. A furrowed brow, a widened eye, a step backward. These silent cues kept us alive. They told our tribe when we were afraid, when we were safe, and when we needed help. And even though we now live in a world of language, texting, and constant chatter, our brains are still wired to interpret these ancient signals. But here's the truth. Most communication doesn't happen through words. This is not a theory or guess. It's backed by research. Studies in psychology and communication consistently show that only a small percentage of meaning is conveyed through actual language. The remaining majority, somewhere around 70 to 90%, comes through nonverbal cues. These include tone of voice, facial expressions, posture, gestures, eye contact, distance, and even silence. This means you are reading minds all the time, whether you realize it or not. When someone walks into a room, you instantly form an impression. Without hearing them speak, you may decide they're confident, nervous, friendly, cold, stressed, or arrogant. What made you think that? Their walk? Their posture? The way they scanned the room or avoided eye contact? You didn't just think. Your brain read it. Automatically, instinctively, but most people do this passively, without awareness. What this book teaches you is how to read intentionally, with clarity, accuracy, and insight. The real message is in the body. Let's take a simple example. Imagine someone says, "I'm fine," but their arms are crossed, their voice is tight, and their jaw is clenched. Are they really fine? No, you don't even need to ask. The nonverbal signals are shouting something else. You don't trust the words because you've picked up on a deeper truth, one that wasn't spoken. This is the core of nonverbal intelligence. What people say is often different from what they show. Body language, tone, and expressions are the mind's unfiltered messengers. While words can be rehearsed, calculated, or false, the body often reveals emotions before the brain can hide them. That's why a liar may say the right thing but blink rapidly, clear their throat, or avoid your gaze. Their words are controlled, but their nervous system betrays them. Communication is a full-body event. To understand how someone truly feels, you must look beyond their mouth. Their face may show micro-expressions, tiny, involuntary flashes of emotion. Their hands may fidget, clench, or gesture with openness or control. Their feet may point toward the exit, a hidden sign of discomfort or desire to leave. Their shoulders may slump, tense, or roll forward. Their voice may rise or fall, hesitate or rush. Their posture may dominate, shrink, invite, or block. All of this communicates something, and often that something is more truthful than their words. That you've already experienced this. You felt it when someone stood too close. You've sensed tension in a room before anyone spoke. You've noticed when someone laughed, but their eyes didn't join in. You already know this language. You just haven't been trained to speak it fluently. Yet, the importance of context before you become a mind reader. There's one rule you must embrace. Context matters. No signal exists in isolation. A single gesture, posture, or facial expression doesn't always mean the same thing. For example, crossed arms can mean defensiveness, but they can also mean the person is cold. Avoiding eye contact might mean someone is hiding something, or they're shy or neurodivergent. Fidgeting may suggest anxiety, or simply boredom or habit. This is why you must observe clusters, not isolated cues. You don't jump to conclusions based on one behavior. You observe patterns, shifts, and how signals fit the situation. Reading body language is not about guessing. It's about collecting evidence, connecting it to emotional logic, and forming insights grounded in both science and intuition. You must learn to observe without bias and interpret with empathy, not assumption. Your brain is already reading. Now upgrade it whether you're aware of it or not. Your brain already processes nonverbal cues thousands of times a day, but it does so without precision. This book gives you a sharper lens. It trains your observation so you can detect what's real, what's hidden, and what's most important, the why behind the behavior. When someone shifts their weight side to side, touches their neck, or glances repeatedly at the door, you'll begin to ask, what is this person feeling that they're not saying? And slowly, those unspoken truths will become visible to you, as if you're hearing them, though they were never spoken. The power of silent perception. The best communicators in the world, negotiators, salespeople, therapists, detectives, leaders, parents, are not just good speakers. They are great listeners, but not just to words. They listen with their eyes. They track breath, tempo, movement, and energy shifts. They watch, and through watching, they understand that's what you're going to learn to do. In this book, you will break down human behavior into observable signals. You'll learn to recognize the subtle tells that reveal true feelings, intentions, and thoughts. You'll no longer rely on what people say. You'll start paying attention to what they show. And once you do, you'll begin to navigate conversations, relationships, conflicts, and decisions with a new level of clarity and confidence. Reading minds isn't about speaking. It's about seeing. And now, you're about to learn how to see what others don't. Chapter 2. Calibrating the baseline. Before you can read anyone's nonverbal signals with accuracy, you must first answer one simple question. What's their normal? That's what we call the baseline, a person's default behavior when they're relaxed, unstressed, and being themselves. Without understanding someone's baseline, your mind-reading efforts will be hit or miss. You might misinterpret normal habits as warning signs, or miss the moments when someone is clearly uncomfortable, nervous, or hiding something. In other words, without a baseline, you're guessing. With a baseline, you're reading. What is a baseline? A baseline is a person's natural, unforced way of behaving when they're not under pressure or trying to manipulate their behavior. It includes their usual body posture, typical hand movements, eye contact, preferences, vocal rhythm, and tone, facial expressions at rest, physical habits, or fidgets. Every person is different. Some people naturally talk fast. Others avoid eye contact, even when they're telling the truth. Some people always cross their arms, not because they're defensive, but because it feels comfortable. When you see these behaviors, they only become meaningful if they deviate from what's normal for that person. Reading minds without understanding the baseline is like trying to detect a fever without knowing someone's regular body temperature. You don't know if something is off unless you know what normal looks like. Why baseline matters. Let's say you're in a conversation with a colleague. She's speaking quickly, blinking often, and occasionally tapping her foot. You might assume she's nervous or hiding something. But what if you knew that she always speaks fast, that blinking rapidly is her natural rhythm, and that foot tapping is just a lifelong habit? Now, you're not jumping to false conclusions. You're reading with precision. This is the power of calibration. You observe how someone behaves before the stakes are high. So when something shifts, you know something's up. How to establish a baseline. Establishing a person's baseline doesn't require hours of study. In fact, it can happen in just a few minutes if you know what to look for. Here's how to do it. 1. Observe during neutral moments. Start watching when the person is in a low-pressure environment, perhaps chatting about something casual, sitting alone, or engaging in something familiar. Watch their eye contact, breathing rate, posture, gesture, range, expression patterns. Note what's consistent. That's their starting point. Point 2. Listen to their voice. Is their tone usually soft or loud? Do they pause often? Do they speak with rising inflection or flat delivery? What's their default speaking pace? Their voice is part of their baseline too. A sudden change in tone or pace might later indicate stress, fear, or excitement, but only if it deviates from this normal. Point 3. Watch for comfort gestures. People naturally perform certain behaviors when they're relaxed. Some might lean back. Others might clasp their hands, bounce a knee, or play with a ring. Take note. If these disappear or shift under stress, it means something has changed internally. Point 4. Recognize resting facial expressions. Some people look intense when they're thinking, even if they're calm. Others smile naturally, even when they're not amused. Knowing someone's resting expression prevents misreading signals that aren't signals at all. Point 5. Monitor interactions with others. How do they act around others when not under pressure? Are they expressive or reserved? Animated or still? Observing their default social style gives you insight into what's normal, so you can later detect when something's off. When baselines break. Now, let's look at what happens when the baseline shifts. A shift from the baseline is your cue that something internal has changed. The person may feel threatened, uncomfortable, excited, fearful, uncertain, or even deceptive. Here are common deviations and what they might suggest. Increased blinking or eye darting, possible anxiety or evasiveness, sudden posture change, leaning back, crossing arms, potential discomfort or defense. Hands become hidden or stop moving, increased mental stress. Voice grows tighter, faster, or higher, emotional tension. They stop smiling when they usually do, drop in comfort or interest. The key is not to overreact to any single behavior, but to ask yourself, is this different from their baseline? If yes, you may be seeing a shift in emotional state, something they may not be willing to say out loud. Case study. The job interview. Imagine you're interviewing someone for a job. During the first 10 minutes, the candidate seems relaxed. She maintains steady eye contact, gestures naturally, and smiles frequently. Then you bring up a previous employer, and her behavior subtly changes. Her smile fades. Her gestures slow. Her posture tightens. She says, "It was a great learning experience," but her body says otherwise. Because you were calibrated to her baseline, you noticed the change. You don't need to interrogate her. You've already learned something important. Her response is emotionally loaded, even if she's choosing neutral words. Practice makes baseline reading natural. Calibrating a baseline becomes second nature. With practice, in every new interaction, ask yourself, how does this person normally sit, speak, and respond? What do they look like when they're relaxed? What behaviors disappear or emerge when the topic shifts? Once you've answered these questions a few times, your mind will begin to track baselines automatically. You'll become a natural observer, noticing changes others miss. Final thought. Be the observer, not the judge when reading people, especially through body language. Never jump to conclusions based on a single gesture. The goal isn't to judge, it's to understand. Reading minds through body language is not about labeling someone as a liar, a coward, or a flirt. It's about becoming aware of internal shifts that reflect real feelings. And it all begins with calibration. Before you interpret what someone is saying silently, make sure you know what they usually look like when they have nothing to hide. Only then can you begin to truly read between the lines and understand what people say without saying anything at all. Chapter 3. The eyes don't lie. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul, and that's not just poetic language. Human eyes are one of the most powerful, expressive, and involuntary tools of nonverbal communication. While people can fake a smile or rehearse words, the eyes often reveal thoughts and feelings long before the brain can censor them. In fact, much of what we call mind reading begins and ends with the eyes. You've seen it before. A fleeting glance, a narrowed gaze, a prolonged stare. Without a single word, you could sense interest, irritation, insecurity, or admiration. That wasn't intuition, it was observation. Your mind detected signals it didn't consciously explain. Now, we're going to make those instincts visible, clear, and usable. This chapter will teach you how to decode eye behavior, so you can spot lies, read emotions, detect attraction, and interpret unspoken intentions with remarkable accuracy. The power of eye contact. Let's begin with one of the most obvious cues. Eye contact. Humans instinctively use eye contact to assess trust, dominance, confidence, and sincerity. When someone looks you directly in the eye, you feel acknowledged. When they look away, you may feel dismissed or suspicious. But here's the key. Eye contact must be interpreted in context and culture. In Western cultures, consistent eye contact is often viewed as a sign of confidence and honesty. In many Eastern cultures, however, prolonged eye contact can be seen as disrespectful or confrontational. Among neurodivergent individuals, especially those with autism or social anxiety, eye contact avoidance may be the norm, not a signal of deceit. So again, baseline and context matter. Still, even with those nuances, eye behavior remains one of the most revealing aspects of human communication. Gaze patterns. Where the eyes go, the mind follows the direction someone looks when they think or respond, can give you powerful insights into their thought process. In the field of neurolinguistic programming, NLP, researchers found patterns in how people move their eyes when recalling or constructing thoughts. While not scientifically universal, they can offer useful cues in real-time interaction. Here's a general breakdown for right-handed individuals. Eyes up and to the right, imagination or fabrication, e.g., constructing a picture in the mind. Eyes up and to the left, recalling a visual memory. Eyes to the right, middle, imagining sounds or constructing conversations. Eyes to the left, middle, recalling real sounds or conversations. Eyes down to the right, internal dialogue. Reflective thought. Eyes down to the left, accessing feelings or physical sensations. So, if you ask someone, "Did you see who took it?" and their eyes go up and right, they might be constructing an answer. possibly not recalling a real event. If their eyes go up and left, they may be trying to retrieve an actual memory. Important, left-handed people may reverse these directions, and not everyone follows the same pattern. So observe over time. Pupil dilation, the silent signal of emotion. Pupils dilate when we're aroused, interested, or stimulated, emotionally, mentally, or physically. They also constrict in response to negative emotions like anger or discomfort. Unlike other body cues, pupil size is completely involuntary. You can't control it, fake it, or hide it. This makes pupil dilation one of the most reliable signals of emotional response. If someone's pupils widen while looking at you, they may be interested, excited, or deeply engaged. If they shrink, they may be experiencing stress, aggression, or even disgust. Lighting plays a role, of course, so always observe under consistent environmental conditions. But when you notice sudden dilation in a steady environment, you're witnessing a raw emotional response. Blinking. The mind's rhythm revealed the average person blinks between 15 to 20 times per minute. But under emotional or cognitive pressure, that rate changes. Increased blinking often signals anxiety, nervousness, or stress. It's common when someone is under pressure or trying to deceive. Decreased blinking, especially long stares or intense eye contact, may indicate deep concentration or a calculated attempt to dominate or manipulate. Blink rate spikes may also occur during discomfort, guilt, or fear. Think of blinking as the rhythm of the mind. When that rhythm speeds up or slows down dramatically, there's usually a reason. The power of eye avoidance. When someone avoids eye contact during a conversation, it doesn't automatically mean they're lying, but it does suggest discomfort. Here are several meanings behind eye avoidance. Discomfort with the topic, truth or lie. Desire to hide emotion, cultural or social anxiety, fear of confrontation, guilt, or embarrassment. Liars often avoid eye contact because they fear being exposed. But skilled deceivers sometimes overcompensate by maintaining too much eye contact. That's why you need to look at consistency. Is the person acting within their usual behavior or trying too hard? Sudden or unnatural eye avoidance can be an emotional alarm bell. So can unblinking, predatory stares. Both extremes suggest something deeper than the surface conversation. Gaze duration. How long is too long? The length of eye contact communicates volumes. 1 to 2 seconds. Casual glance 3 to 5 seconds. Engaged and interested over 5 seconds. Intense focus could signal attraction, confrontation, or manipulation. In intimate moments, prolonged eye contact builds trust and connection. In confrontational moments, it becomes a power play. Learn to measure not just where someone is looking, but how long they hold it. That pause can reveal thought, hesitation, interest, or threat, attraction, and the triangle gaze. One of the most subtle and powerful indicators of romantic or sexual interest is the triangle gaze. This is where the eyes move between 3 focal points on the face. Eye to eye, down to the mouth, back up again. This pattern often happens when someone is attracted but unsure about expressing it. The gaze lingers slightly longer on the mouth or lips than in normal conversation. It's subtle, but once you know it, it's hard to miss. Tears, tension, and the eyes under stress. When someone is under emotional strain, the eyes reveal it. You may see a tight squint, tension in the brow, watering or reddening of the eyes, glazed or distant focus. These are signs of internal emotion surfacing, often against the person's will. Tears are not the only sign of sadness. A blank stare, heavy blinking, or rapid darting eyes can all mean the mind is struggling to stay in control. Watch closely, especially during tough conversations. The eyes often show emotion before the voice cracks or words stumble. Reading the eyes. The skill of silent awareness. To master this skill, practice in low-stakes environments. Observe people during casual conversations. Watch talk shows with the sound off. Pay attention to politicians, speakers, or actors in interviews. Notice where their eyes go when asked a question, how their pupils respond in emotionally charged moments, the rhythm of their blinking. Their gaze shifts when they speak versus when they listen. You'll start to notice patterns, contradictions, and moments of emotional truth, flashing in the eyes for just a second, but enough to tell you what's really happening beneath the words. Chapter 4. Reading the face like a map. The human face is the most expressive surface on the body. It reveals joy, fear, doubt, interest, surprise, anger, sadness, disgust, and dozens of other subtle emotional shades, often in a split second. We may try to mask how we feel, but the face frequently betrays us before we're even aware of it. In fact, many emotional reactions are so fast, they show up on the face before our brain can filter them out. This is why the face is such a powerful tool for decoding thoughts, intentions, and feelings. It's a living map of the mind. In this chapter, you'll learn how to read that map by recognizing expressions that are genuine, fake, hidden, or unintentional. You'll understand which parts of the face carry which emotional weight and how to interpret even the briefest flickers of feeling. The truth about facial expressions. Let's begin with a core principle. Facial expressions are universal, regardless of culture, language, or background. Human beings express certain emotions in nearly the same way. Dr. Paul Ekman, a psychologist and pioneer in the field of emotional expression, identified 7 universal facial expressions that appear across all people and cultures. Happiness, sadness, anger, fear, disgust, surprise, contempt. These expressions are biologically wired. Even people born blind make these same facial reactions. That means they're not learned, they're innate. Each emotion has specific muscular patterns in the face. Let's explore them. Happiness, raised cheeks, corners of the mouth pulled back and upward, crow's feet. Wrinkles around the eyes, softening of the muscles in the face. Key insight: a genuine smile always includes the eyes. If someone's mouth smiles but their eyes stay neutral, it's likely a social smile. Polite, not sincere. Sadness, inner corners of the eyebrows pulled upward, drooping eyelids, downturned mouth, head often tilting downward. Sadness can be subtle, especially in adults, trained to mask emotions. But when someone is truly sad, the eyebrows form a visible arch toward the center, a sign that's hard to fake. Anger, eyebrows lowered and drawn together, eyes glaring or focused intensely, lips pressed firmly, or flared jaw clenched, or teeth exposed. Anger prepares the body for confrontation. When you see these signs together, especially with aggressive posture, emotional intensity is rising. Fear, eyebrows raised and drawn together, upper eyelids lifted, lower eyelids tense, mouth open or lips stretched back, eyes wide and frozen. Fear can be confused with surprise. The difference? Fear holds tension. Surprise is brief. Disgust, upper lip raised, nose wrinkled, brows lowered, head may pull back instinctively. This expression is often fleeting, yet powerful. It usually appears when something or someone triggers revulsion, either physical or emotional. Surprise, eyebrows raised, eyes widened, mouth open, often in an O shape, no tension in the lower face. Surprise is the most brief of all the universal expressions. It lasts just a moment before shifting into another emotion, like joy, fear, or confusion. Contempt, a unilateral smirk, one corner of the mouth raised, slight eye roll, or head tilt. Disdain or superiority in the eyes. Contempt is the only asymmetrical universal expression. It often shows up in arguments, sarcasm, or disrespect. Spotting contempt early in relationships can be a red flag. It's one of the strongest predictors of disconnection. Microexpressions, the mind's unfiltered signals. What if you could detect an emotion someone is trying to hide before they even realize it slipped out? That's the power of microexpressions. Microexpressions are rapid, involuntary facial expressions that reveal a person's true emotional state. They often last only 1/25th to 1/5 of a second. They're hard to fake and even harder to suppress. These flashes of emotion leak through even when someone is trying to appear neutral or in control. For example, someone may say they're fine, but flash a microexpression of sadness or contempt. A speaker might flash fear before answering a question. A partner may smile, but reveal anger in a quick tightening of the jaw. Microexpressions require practice to detect, but they are real, and revealing. To develop this skill, start observing faces during emotionally charged conversations, high-pressure interviews, or debates. Watch without sound. Let your brain focus solely on facial cues. Fake expressions versus real emotion. Some people are excellent actors, but most of us, when trying to fake an emotion, forget one crucial thing. Authentic emotion engages the entire face. Here are a few tips to spot false expressions. Fake smiles often only involve the mouth. Real smiles light up the eyes. Forced laughter comes in delayed bursts and lacks facial involvement. Pretend surprise may involve raised eyebrows, but without the telltale mouth or eye reaction. Controlled anger. The voice may be calm, but facial tension builds. Look for a clenching jaw or pinched lips. When someone says one thing but shows another on their face, your brain senses it, even if you can't explain why. This is cognitive dissonance between verbal and nonverbal communication. Trust your instincts, but learn to verify with patterns, not just one cue. Face reading is a skill of layers. A face doesn't just show emotion. It also shows thinking, concentration, fatigue, boredom, and even deception. Here are a few additional cues to look for. Raised inner eyebrows often signals pleading, vulnerability, or sorrow. Tightened lips indicates restraint, tension, or emotional control. Twitches near the eyes may reflect stress or an attempt to conceal an emotion. Forced stillness in the face, a sign that someone is trying not to react, i.e. deception or discomfort. People often freeze their expressions instead of showing normal fluidity. The absence of movement can be just as telling as movement itself. Facial asymmetry and emotional leakage. When someone feels conflicted or is trying to mask an emotion, their facial expression may become asymmetrical. A half smile instead of a full one eyebrow raised while the other stays flat, a smirk on one side of the mouth. These are subtle signs of inner conflict. They suggest the person is saying or doing one thing while feeling something else underneath. Practice watching the face without distraction to sharpen your ability to read the face like a map. Try these exercises. Watch interviews with the sound off. Focus entirely on expressions. What emotions are being shown without context? Observe live conversations. Pay attention to transitions in facial expression as topics shift. Record yourself speaking emotionally. Watch how your own face changes naturally. Pause during films or documentaries. Stop the frame at high emotion scenes and analyze the facial expressions in detail. The more faces you observe, the faster your brain builds pattern recognition. Chapter 5. The body's silent dialogue. If the eyes speak the truth and the face whispers emotion, then the body shouts in silence. Every gesture, every shift in posture, every movement of the hands or tilt of the torso sends a message, one that most people miss because they're too focused on words. But once you learn to listen with your eyes, you'll begin to hear what the body is constantly saying. That we all participate in this silent dialogue, whether we know it or not. Our bodies reveal our emotional state, our intentions, and even our thought processes, often louder than our voices do. In this chapter, we explore the body's full vocabulary, from the position of the feet to the tilt of the head, so you can begin to read people from head to toe and understand them far beyond what they say out loud. The body always speaks, unlike the face, which is often trained to mask emotion. The body is harder to control. Most people aren't aware of what their posture, movements, or gestures are doing. That makes body language one of the most honest forms of communication. For example, someone may say, "I'm excited to be here," while their body leans back and arms fold in. A person may claim to be calm, but their feet shuffle, their fingers twitch, and their weight shifts constantly. Words can deceive. The body rarely does. Posture. The emotional backbone. Your posture is the physical shape of your emotional state. Upright, open posture signals confidence, alertness, and readiness. Slouched or hunched posture may indicate defeat, fatigue, or low self-esteem. Rigid posture can suggest anxiety, fear, or an attempt to suppress emotion. Leaning in shows engagement and interest. Leaning away often indicates discomfort or disapproval. Watch how someone holds their body in different environments. Does their posture change around different people? Does it collapse under stress or expand with confidence? That's the dialogue in motion. Gestures. Words without voice. Gestures are how we express emphasis, intention, and rhythm. They complement or contradict what's being said. Open hand gestures, palms facing up, often signal honesty, invitation, or openness. Closed or hidden hands may indicate defensiveness or a desire to control. Pointing can come across as aggressive or dominant, depending on context. Touching the face or neck during speech may reveal stress or insecurity. Scratching the nose, tugging an ear, or rubbing the neck. These are known as pacifying behaviors, often triggered by internal discomfort. When gestures match words, trust increases. When they don't, the listener senses something is wrong, even if they can't explain why. The arms, barriers or bridges arms are used to express, protect, and invite. How someone uses their arms tells you how open or closed they feel. Crossed arms are often read as defensive or closed off, especially in unfamiliar environments. Arms loosely crossed with relaxed shoulders may simply be a comfortable habit. Arms held tightly across the chest signal discomfort, resistance, or emotional shielding. Arms at the sides or moving freely suggest confidence and ease. Hands behind the back can imply confidence or a need to hide nervous gestures. Always watch how the arms move as the conversation shifts. A sudden change from openness to crossed arms may mean the person just became emotionally guarded. The hands. Anxiety, control, and connection. The hands often reveal what the mouth is hiding. Hands clenched into fists, suppressed anger or tension. Hands fidgeting or wringing, anxiety, stress, or uncertainty. Hands in pockets can mean casualness or concealed tension. Hands placed on hips may indicate authority, impatience, or readiness. Steepling, fingertips touching to form a triangle often seen in confident or dominant individuals. Also observe how people use their hands in greetings. Firm, limp, prolonged, rushed. A handshake alone can reveal more than a full paragraph. The feet, the most honest part of the body. Most people focus on the face. The smartest observers watch the feet. The feet often point toward what the mind desires, or away from what it wants to avoid. Feet pointed toward someone shows interest or engagement. Feet pointed away suggests discomfort, disinterest, or a desire to exit. Shuffling or tapping feet indicates nervous energy or impatience. Frozen feet in an otherwise active conversation can signal concealed tension or fear. When people lie or feel trapped, their upper body may seem calm, but their feet often betray them. Mirroring, the dance of rapport. When two people are in sync, emotionally or socially, their bodies begin to mirror each other. They adopt similar postures, gestures, and rhythms. This is often unconscious and a powerful sign of trust or agreement. If you notice someone subtly copying your movements or body position, they likely feel connected to you. Likewise, if someone suddenly stops mirroring and pulls away, that may reflect emotional distance or disagreement. You can use mirroring intentionally to build rapport, but never force it. Authentic connection creates natural harmony. The torso. Direction reveals intention where. The torso faces reveals where the mind wants to go. Facing someone directly indicates full attention or confrontation. Turning slightly away suggests withdrawal or uncertainty. Facing away while speaking often signals disinterest, distraction, or discomfort. That if someone keeps their eyes on you, but their body is angled away, believe the body. It speaks the deeper truth. Personal space. The invisible boundary, the distance someone keeps from you, is a strong, silent signal. There are general zones of personal space. Intimate space. 0 to 18 inches reserved for close relationships. Personal space. 1.5 to 4 feet casual conversation. Social space. 4 to 12 feet formal interactions, group discussions. Public space. 12 plus feet speeches, public events. When someone violates these zones or steps back to protect them, they're speaking silently about their comfort level. Respecting space builds trust. Ignoring it breeds discomfort. Clusters and contradictions. As always, context and consistency matter. No single gesture tells the full story. You must observe clusters of behavior and compare them to the person's baseline. Example: if someone suddenly folds their arms but keeps smiling and leaning in, it might just be comfort. But if they fold their arms, lean away, glance at the door, and tense their jaw, that's a shift you need to notice. Contradictions are the biggest giveaways. A confident voice with slouched posture. A warm greeting with cold hands and stiff shoulders. A compliment spoken while the feet are pointed toward the exit. When the body contradicts the words, believe the body. The silent conversation. Every interaction you have is a two-layered exchange. There's the spoken conversation, and then there's the silent one. The one happening through crossed arms, tilted heads, shifting feet, and tightened jaws. When you learn to track that second conversation, you gain access to real emotional intelligence. You begin to notice who's hiding insecurity, who's resisting your ideas, who's being genuine, who's pretending, who's silently inviting you in, and who's already halfway out the door. The body never lies. It only waits to be seen. Chapter 6. Hand gestures and what they hide. If the face reflects emotion and the body reveals attitude, then the hands betray secrets. Hands are storytellers. They move with our words, reinforce our meaning, and, at times, completely contradict what we say. Most people are unaware of what their hands are doing during a conversation. Yet those unconscious movements often reveal their true thoughts, comfort levels, and even attempts to deceive. In this chapter, we focus on the hidden language of the hands, from open palms to clenched fists, from subtle grooming gestures to self-soothing fidgets. You'll learn how to read gestures that others overlook and begin to uncover the emotions people try to hide in plain sight. Why hands matter so much. The hands are one of the first parts of the body to act under emotional influence. Whether it's anxiety, attraction, authority, or nervousness, our hands begin to show signs before we find the words to express what we're feeling. Why? Because hands are used for both communication and protection. Evolutionarily, they're the tools we use to connect or defend ourselves. That instinct hasn't left us. We still gesture when passionate, hide our hands when nervous, and reach out when open and trusting. So, when someone says one thing, but their hands say another, you should be listening to the hands, open versus closed. Gestures. Let's start with one of the simplest, yet most powerful hand cues. Open palms facing upward usually signal honesty, submission, or openness. Think of someone saying, "I swear," or "I have nothing to hide." Open palms invite trust. Palms facing downward may indicate dominance, authority, or control. They show a grounding presence, a desire to lead or command. Closed fists, hidden hands, or clenched fingers often suggest tension, anger, defensiveness, or restraint. When someone hides their hands, either in pockets, under a table, or behind their back, it's often because they're protecting a feeling or hiding uncertainty. In any emotionally charged conversation, watch where the hands go. Do they open up or shut down? Illustrators. Hands that talk. Illustrators are the gestures we make while speaking to emphasize or clarify what we're saying. These hand movements often match our words in rhythm and intensity. Examples include moving hands in a circular motion to show process, pointing in the air while listing, mimicking shapes or directions while explaining something. High use of illustrators typically signals confidence, enthusiasm, and truthfulness. Low use, especially in someone who normally gestures, can signal stress, inhibition, or deceit. If someone suddenly stops gesturing or begins controlling their hand movements, their mind is likely in conflict. Either they're holding something back or unsure of what they're saying. Adapters. Hands that soothe. Adapters are self-touch gestures that occur when someone is experiencing internal tension. These movements help a person calm themselves, often without realizing it. Common examples: rubbing the hands together, stroking one's arm or wrist, touching the face, neck, or lips, fidgeting with rings, watches, or bracelets, cracking knuckles, or wringing hands. These actions are usually involuntary and often appear when someone is lying, uncomfortable, anxious, or insecure. When you see someone speaking calmly, but simultaneously rubbing the back of their neck or tapping their fingers nervously, pay attention. Their hands are revealing what their mouth is not. Barriers. Hands that block. Sometimes people use their hands to create psychological or physical barriers, a way to distance themselves from discomfort or vulnerability. These include holding an object like a phone or coffee cup in front of the body, folding arms tightly with hands tucked in, placing a hand over the mouth or chin while speaking, using a book or bag as a physical shield. These gestures signal a need for protection or emotional defense. The more frequently someone uses hand barriers during a conversation, the less secure they feel. The handshake. The first silent signal. The handshake is often the first physical gesture exchanged between two people, and it speaks volumes. Here's what to watch for: firm but not crushing grip, confidence and balance. Weak or limp grip, insecurity, passiveness, or disinterest, overly strong grip, dominance, aggression, or compensation, two-handed shake, covering the other person's hand, warmth, or manipulation, depending on context, wet or clammy hands. Nervousness also. Watch for who initiates the handshake and whether hands are angled palm up, down, or neutral. These cues speak of power dynamics. Often before a word is spoken, hand-to-face gestures. Emotional leakage. The face is sacred territory. When hands go there, it usually signals internal conflict, discomfort, or emotional processing. Key signals: touching the nose or lips while speaking, often linked to dishonesty or hesitation, covering the mouth. Suppression of speech or emotion, rubbing the eyes. Fatigue, frustration, or avoidance, tugging at the ear. Indecision or self-soothing, scratching the head or neck. Confusion, doubt, or uncertainty. These actions may be fleeting, but in moments of tension, they speak volumes. Deception and the hands. When people lie, they often try to control their hands. They may hide them, sit on them, or keep them unnaturally still. Why? Because they know hands leak emotion. Ironically, this lack of movement can be a bigger giveaway than the gestures themselves. If someone suddenly freezes their hands, especially someone who normally gestures a lot, that's often a red flag. Also, look for hand gestures that don't match the words. For example, saying, "I'm completely relaxed," while tightly gripping the edge of a chair, claiming, "I have nothing to hide," while hands vanish under the table. Mismatch equals mind conflict. Hands. An emotional intensity. When emotions run high, the hands become more animated, unpredictable, or frozen. In excitement, they may wave, clap, or emphasize heavily. In fear, they may retreat to the body or grip objects tightly. In anger, they may clench, jab, or tense. In love or affection, they may reach out, touch softly, or mirror the other person's hands. By observing how hands behave across emotions, you begin to build a map of a person's internal state, moment by moment. Reading hand gestures in context. As always, hand reading depends on the situation. Are they in a job interview or with a close friend? The baseline. Do they normally gesture a lot or not at all? The cluster. What other signals are happening simultaneously? One gesture alone doesn't tell the full story. But when you observe multiple hand movements together and match them to what's being said, you begin to uncover what's really going on inside someone's mind. Chapter 7. Feet, Distance, and Orientation. We spend so much time focusing on the face, hands, and voice that we often overlook one of the most honest parts of the human body, the feet. While our expressions can be rehearsed and our gestures controlled, our feet remain largely unconscious. They react instinctively, without pretense. Feet point toward interest. They retreat from fear. They freeze when someone feels threatened and fidget when nervous energy builds. When paired with our sense of distance and orientation, how we position ourselves in space, our lower body becomes a reliable source of silent truth. In this chapter, we'll explore how the feet, physical distance, and body orientation can reveal what a person is thinking or feeling, even when their words tell a different story. Why feet matter in body language. You can teach someone to fake a smile. You can train someone to use open gestures, but it's extremely rare for people to be aware of or deliberately control their feet. This is what makes foot language such a trustworthy indicator of someone's true feelings. The next time you're in a conversation, glance down. Are their feet pointed at you or away from you? Are they shuffling, tapping, frozen, or angled toward the exit? Are they aligned with their words and posture, or out of sync? This seemingly small detail speaks volumes. Feet point toward desire. Our feet naturally point toward what we want, value, or feel safe around. It's a primal instinct rooted in survival. In a group setting, the orientation of someone's feet can reveal who they're most interested in, even if their eyes or body are aimed elsewhere. Feet pointed toward a person equals interest, attraction. Comfort. Feet angled away equals disinterest, discomfort. A desire to leave. Feet pointed toward an exit equals mentally or emotionally checked out. Even in casual conversations, when someone's feet start drifting toward the door, it often means their mind already has. This is especially useful in meetings, negotiations, or romantic encounters. The feet often announce a person's emotional state before they say a word. the freeze response under stress, fear, or uncertainty, people often experience what's called the freeze response. The entire body becomes still, especially the feet. Why? Because freezing is a survival mechanism. In ancient times, it was a way to avoid detection by predators. In modern interactions, it often signals emotional tension that if someone suddenly stops moving their feet or goes unnaturally still, while claiming to be relaxed or fine, take note. Their body may be bracing for something they're not voicing. Fidgeting feet and nervous energy when someone feels anxious, excited, or uncertain. The tension often releases through the feet and legs. Bouncing a leg while seated, tapping a foot rhythmically, constantly shifting weight. Unconsciously rubbing one foot against the other. These repetitive movements are known as pacifying behaviors, the body's way of self-soothing under pressure. If a speaker is answering questions with a calm voice, but tapping their foot like a metronome, it's a signal of internal unrest, no matter how composed they appear above the waist. Distance. The language of personal space. Humans have invisible comfort zones, bubbles of personal space we protect instinctively. When someone gets too close or drifts too far, we feel it before we process it logically. These distances fall into predictable categories. Intimate space, 0 to 18 inches, reserved for close relationships, romantic partners, close friends, or family. Personal space, 1.5 to 4 feet, comfortable for most social interactions with friends or coworkers. Social space, 4 to 12 feet, appropriate for professional meetings or group gatherings. Public space, 12 plus feet, used for lectures, speeches, or when speaking to an audience. When someone enters your intimate space uninvited, it may trigger discomfort or anxiety. On the other hand, if someone stays too far back when the context calls for closeness, they may be signaling emotional distance or a lack of connection. Using distance to read intentions. The distance someone chooses to maintain from you often reflects their emotional state or intention. If someone moves closer while speaking, it may show trust, interest, or a desire for intimacy. If they step back, especially when asked something personal, it may suggest discomfort or withdrawal. If they frequently adjust their distance, they may be undecided, emotionally conflicted, or testing the waters. Also, notice what happens when you move closer to someone. Do they lean in or stay grounded? That's a sign of comfort. Do they step back, shift their weight, or glance away? That may be a sign of unease or a desire for space. Orientation, where the body faces. Body orientation, how someone angles their torso in relation to you, reveals their focus and intent. Full frontal orientation, chest and feet facing directly at you, full attention, openness, engagement. Angled or side-facing orientation, polite but possibly cautious or non-committal. Back turned or body leaning away, emotional withdrawal, disconnection, or dismissal. Interestingly, someone's words can be kind, but if their body turns slightly away, it may show hesitation or lack of sincerity. In group dynamics, pay attention to who people's torsos are turned toward. That person often holds the most influence or interest. Even in a circular group, people may angle slightly towards someone they feel closest to, or away from someone they distrust. Clusters, feet plus distance plus orientation. Each of these signals, foot direction, space, orientation, is useful on its own. But when you observe them together as a cluster, you begin to see the full picture. Let's consider a few examples. Scenario 1. Conflicted interest. Eyes are looking at you, torso is facing you, feet are angled toward the door. This person may be trying to stay polite, but they're mentally checked out or feeling pressured to leave. Scenario 2. Hidden discomfort. The person maintains appropriate distance. Their arms are open, but their feet are crossed tightly and pointed away. There's internal tension not being expressed in the conversation. Watch for signs of emotional restraint. Scenario 3. Trust and connection. The feet, torso, and head are all aligned toward you. Distance is close, but not intrusive. Movements are relaxed and mirrored. This person is present, engaged, and likely feels emotionally safe. How to use this in real life. To start applying this knowledge, observe before you speak. Notice how someone positions their body before they even say hello. Test their space bubble. Move slightly closer or shift your posture, and observe their response. Watch for changes. The most revealing signals come when something shifts, when feet start to fidget, orientation changes, or distance increases suddenly. These transitions often mark the moment a person's emotional state changes, even if they continue talking, as if nothing has happened. Final thought. Ground truth lies at the bottom. We often try to read people by watching their eyes or listening to their words. But some of the clearest signals come from below the waist, the parts of the body we forget to monitor. Feet don't lie. They point where the heart wants to go. They flee when the mind feels threatened. They freeze when emotions are held back. They fidget when anxiety knocks on the door. The next time you're trying to read someone, don't just look them in the eyes. Look at the stance, the space, and the direction. Look at the subtle conversation happening through posture, distance, and silent steps, because sometimes the truth isn't written on the face. It's written in the feet. Chapter 8. Detecting tension and comfort. Humans are wired to seek comfort and avoid tension. Whether consciously or unconsciously, our bodies reflect these states every second. When we feel comfortable, our bodies relax, open, and invite connection. When tension rises, our muscles tighten, our movements become guarded, and subtle signs of stress begin to leak out. Learning to detect these invisible emotional currents is a game changer in reading minds without words. It allows you to sense whether someone is truly at ease or if something is pressing beneath the surface. In this chapter, we'll explore the physical markers of tension and comfort, how to spot the shifts between them, and how to use this awareness to better understand the people around you. The physiology of tension. Tension isn't just a feeling, it's a physical state. When stress or anxiety strike, the body responds by activating the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight mechanism. Muscles tighten, breathing becomes shallow, and the body prepares to react. Some of the most common physical signs include clenched jaws or grinding teeth, tightened shoulders and neck muscles, hands that grip tightly, tremble, or fidget stiff. Posture or rigid limbs, shallow or rapid breathing, pursed lips or compressed mouth, furrowed brows or narrowed eyes, because tension often reflects an internal state of alertness or discomfort. It's often paired with attempts to mask or control emotions. This creates telltale clusters of behaviors to watch for. Signs of comfort and relaxation. In contrast, comfort brings the body into a state of parasympathetic dominance, activating relaxation and openness. Physical markers of comfort include softened facial muscles and relaxed jaw, open, uncrossed arms and legs, slow, deep breathing, unforced, fluid movements, genuine smiles, engaging the eyes, leaning in or turning toward others, stable, grounded posture. When someone is comfortable, they tend to mirror others' movements, synchronize their breathing, and maintain consistent eye contact. Their bodies appear at ease, signaling trust and openness. Microtension. The subtle clues. Tension isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it whispers. Microtension refers to small, almost imperceptible signs of stress or discomfort that show up even when someone is trying to appear calm. Examples include slight lip presses or twitches, brief tightening around the eyes or mouth, a flicker of eyebrow contraction, quick, shallow breaths, minor hand or finger movements like tapping or rubbing. Because these signs are so subtle, they require focused attention and baseline knowledge of how someone typically behaves. Recognizing the shift from comfort to tension and back. One of the most important skills is noticing when someone's body shifts from comfort to tension, or vice versa. These shifts often happen quickly and may not be accompanied by verbal cues. Watch for sudden changes in posture, from open to closed, a quick hand movement to the face or neck, abrupt stillness or freezing, changes in breathing rhythm, shifts in eye contact, from steady to darting or avoiding. These moments are emotional transitions, brief windows into a person's true state. Context is key. As with all body language, context matters. Someone sitting tensely at a dentist's office might be experiencing physical discomfort rather than emotional tension. A person crossing their arms on a cold day isn't necessarily closed off emotionally. Always compare observed behaviors with the situation and the individual's baseline. Cluster analysis. Trusting patterns, not single signs. Isolated signals can mislead. One crossed arm, a brief glance away, or a momentary lip press might mean nothing on its own, but clusters of tension or comfort signals occurring together and consistently across time are much more reliable. For example, a person showing crossed arms, clenched fists, tightened lips, and avoiding eye contact repeatedly is likely feeling defensive or anxious. Using tension and comfort to understand others by learning to read these signals. You can gauge if someone is open to your ideas or defensive, sense if a negotiation is hitting a sensitive nerve, detect hidden discomfort before it becomes conflict, identify when someone is genuinely at ease and receptive, adapt your communication style to meet their emotional state. This awareness helps you connect deeper, respond more empathetically, and influence conversations positively. Your role in creating comfort. Remember, communication is two-way. You not only observe tension or comfort in others, you also influence it. By maintaining your own relaxed posture, steady breathing, and open gestures, you create an environment that encourages others to relax and open up, mirroring their body language subtly, respecting personal space, and using a calm voice tone all help reduce tension. Chapter 9. Tone of voice and vocal clues. While much of our communication is silent, the human voice remains one of the most powerful tools for conveying emotion, intent, and truth. Beyond the words themselves, the way something is said, the tone, pitch, volume, and rhythm can reveal layers of meaning that often escape conscious detection. In fact, vocal clues can expose feelings someone may be unwilling or unable to express openly. They provide a rich source of insight into the speaker's true state of mind. In this chapter, you will learn how to listen closely to the tone of voice and vocal patterns to uncover hidden emotions, detect deception, and better understand the unspoken messages that accompany speech. Why voice matters. The voice is an emotional instrument. It reflects the speaker's psychological state instantaneously and often involuntarily. Stress, confidence, excitement, anger, nervousness, and sincerity all influence how we speak, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically. Unlike carefully chosen words, tone and vocal inflections are harder to control. They slip through, revealing truths beneath the surface. Key vocal elements to listen for. There are several components of vocal communication to pay attention to. Pitch, the highness or lowness of the voice. Volume, loudness or softness. Tempo, speed or pace of speech. Rhythm, the flow and cadence. Pauses, moments of silence or hesitation. Inflection, variations in pitch and emphasis. Timbre, the unique quality or texture of the voice. Each of these elements carries emotional weight and meaning. Pitch, the emotional highs and lows. Pitch is one of the most immediate indicators of emotion. Higher pitch often signals nervousness, excitement, or uncertainty. When people are anxious or lying, their pitch tends to rise. Lower pitch is typically associated with calmness, confidence, or seriousness. People who speak in a steady, lower pitch often command respect and trust. Sudden changes in pitch can indicate stress or emotional arousal. By noticing shifts in pitch, you can discern when someone is feeling vulnerable, excited, or uncomfortable, even if their words say otherwise. Volume, loudness as a signal. Volume communicates power, confidence, or sometimes aggression. Speaking too loudly can be a sign of dominance, anger, or an attempt to control the conversation. Speaking too softly may indicate insecurity, hesitation, or a desire to avoid attention. Sudden changes in volume during a conversation can signal shifts in emotion or attempts to manipulate the listener's response. Understanding volume cues helps you assess the speaker's emotional state and intentions. Tempo and rhythm, the flow of speech. The speed and flow of speech offer clues about the speaker's mood and mental state. Fast talking can indicate nervousness, excitement, or impatience. Slow speech may reveal thoughtfulness, hesitation, or sadness. Irregular rhythm, with frequent pauses or stammers, often accompanies discomfort or uncertainty. A steady, smooth rhythm suggests confidence and control. By tuning into tempo and rhythm, you pick up on emotional undercurrents and mental focus. Pauses, the power of silence. Pauses, or breaks in speech, are just as meaningful as the words themselves. Strategic pauses can indicate thoughtfulness, emphasis, or deliberate control. Uncomfortable or hesitant pauses may reveal uncertainty, deception, or emotional struggle. Avoiding pauses, speaking too quickly to fill silence, can signal anxiety or a desire to dominate. Notice where and how pauses occur to understand what's happening beneath the surface. Inflection, emphasis, and emotion. Inflection refers to changes in pitch and tone that add meaning and emotional nuance. Rising inflection at the end of a sentence can suggest uncertainty or a question. Falling inflection usually conveys certainty or finality. Variations in emphasis can reveal what a speaker truly cares about or is trying to hide, listening for. These subtleties uncovers hidden priorities and emotions. Timbre. The unique voice quality. Timbre is the texture or color of the voice, the part that makes each person's voice distinct. A warm, rich timbre can create feelings of comfort and trust. A harsh, thin, or strained timbre may indicate stress, anger, or fatigue. Changes in timbre during conversation can signal shifts in emotional state, while subtle, timbre adds an important layer to vocal communication. Vocal clusters. Patterns speak louder than single clues, just like with body language. Vocal clues are most reliable when viewed in clusters. For example, raised pitch plus faster tempo plus hesitant pauses equals nervousness, or deception. Lowered pitch plus slow tempo plus steady rhythm equals calm confidence. Loud volume plus sharp inflections plus abrupt pauses equals anger or frustration. Pay attention to how these elements combine to form a complete picture. Detecting deception through voice. People who lie often show vocal signs that betray their words. Increased pitch and faster speech as anxiety rises. More frequent pauses or hesitations. Voice cracking or wavering. Avoiding eye contact combined with vocal inconsistency. These signs alone don't prove deception, but combined with other cues, they can raise suspicion. How to practice listening to vocal clues to sharpen your skill. Listen to conversations without focusing on words. Try to notice how something is said rather than what. Watch interviews or speeches and compare vocal tones with content and emotion. Record yourself speaking and observe your own vocal patterns to understand your baseline. Pay attention to vocal changes during emotional conversations. Notice shifts in pitch, tempo, and volume. Chapter 10. The power of mirroring in the subtle dance of human interaction. Mirroring is one of the most powerful unspoken languages. It's a natural behavior where people unconsciously imitate the posture, gestures, tone, or facial expressions of those they interact with. This silent mimicry builds connection, trust, and rapport without a single word. Mirroring happens because humans are social creatures wired to seek harmony and understanding. When someone mirrors us, it sends a message, "I am like you," or "I understand you." This can create an instant sense of closeness and empathy. In this chapter, you will learn how to recognize mirroring, understand its significance, and use it consciously to strengthen your influence in relationships. What is mirroring? Mirroring is the subconscious replication of another person's behavior. It can occur in many forms. Matching body posture, mimicking gestures or facial expressions, adopting similar speech rhythms or tone, copying breathing patterns or pace. This imitation is rarely deliberate at first. It's an instinctive response rooted in social bonding. Why does mirroring matter? Mirroring is a fundamental social glue. It helps people feel accepted and understood. When someone mirrors you, your brain often interprets it as a sign of empathy and friendliness, fostering trust. In fact, studies have shown that mirroring increases likability, cooperation, and even persuasion. It's why good salespeople, therapists, and negotiators often use subtle mirroring techniques to build rapport quickly. How to recognize mirroring? You can spot mirroring by observing when the other person's posture changes to match yours, when their gestures subtly imitate yours, crossing arms, leaning in, or hand placement, when their facial expressions reflect your emotions, when their tone or pace of speaking aligns with your own. Mirroring often happens with a slight delay, just a few seconds after the initial behavior. Positive mirroring. Signs of connection. When mirroring is genuine and mutual, it indicates comfort and rapport, mutual understanding, openness to communication, emotional synchronization. If you notice someone naturally matching your movements and speech, it's a good sign that they feel connected to you. Mirroring as a tool. How to use it? You can use mirroring consciously to build trust quickly in new relationships, ease tension in difficult conversations, increase your influence in negotiations, foster empathy and understanding. Here's how to do it effectively. Start subtly. Begin with simple gestures or posture adjustments. Match tone and pace. Reflect the other person's speaking style without mimicking exactly. Mirror facial expressions. Smile when they smile. Show concern when they do. Avoid overdoing it. Too much mirroring can feel forced or mocking. Be authentic. Mirroring works best when it's natural and sincere. Mirroring in group settings in groups. Mirroring helps build cohesion. People tend to mirror those they feel closest to or respect most. Notice who aligns their posture and movements with the leader or key figures. This can reveal social dynamics and alliances. When mirroring breaks down, a sudden stop or absence of mirroring can signal discomfort or disagreement, emotional distancing, lack of trust or connection. If someone stops mirroring you mid-conversation, it may indicate they're withdrawing emotionally or disagreeing internally. The dark side, manipulative mirroring. While mirroring is usually positive, some people use it manipulatively to gain trust or control others for selfish reasons. Be aware of overly obvious or insincere mirroring. Genuine connection feels smooth and comfortable. Forced imitation feels awkward. Chapter 11. Reading minds in real time. The art of reading minds without words isn't about magic or psychic powers. It's about tuning into the subtle, continuous flow of signals our bodies and voices emit in every interaction. Real-time mind. Reading is a dynamic skill, the ability to observe, interpret, and respond instantly to nonverbal cues as they unfold. In this chapter, you will learn how to integrate all the techniques covered so far: body language, vocal tone, gestures, mirroring, and microexpressions to read people's thoughts and feelings live during conversations. This practical skill elevates your awareness, sharpens your intuition, and empowers your communication like never before. The challenge of real-time reading: unlike analyzing a recorded video or recalling past interactions, reading minds in real time demands focused attention, maintaining presence to notice subtle cues, quick interpretation, understanding the meaning behind gestures, tone, and expressions, emotional intelligence, sensing the feelings underlying behaviors, adaptability, adjusting your response based on the signals you pick. It's a complex dance, one that requires practice, patience, but one that dramatically enhances your interpersonal effectiveness. Step 1. Establish the baseline early. Before you can spot meaningful deviations, you must first understand what's normal for the person. Observe their baseline behavior. How do they usually sit or stand? What's their typical tone, pace, and volume? How do they use gestures and facial expressions? Knowing the baseline helps you detect anomalies, signs that reveal hidden thoughts or feelings. Step 2. Watch for clusters of signals. One isolated gesture or vocal change rarely tells the whole story. Instead, watch for clusters of signals that align to form a clear pattern. For example, a slight tightening of the jaw, faster speech, and avoidance of eye contact together may indicate discomfort or deceit. Open posture, steady breathing, and matching tone suggest comfort and sincerity. The more signals that reinforce one another, the more confident you can be in your interpretation. Step 3. Pay attention to timing and context. Timing is everything. How a gesture or vocal cue fits within the flow of conversation can change its meaning. A microexpression that flashes just as a sensitive topic arises may reveal true feelings. A sudden shift in posture when a question is asked might indicate hesitation or defensiveness. Context shapes interpretation. Always consider what was said, the situation, and the relationship between parties. Step 4. Use active listening and observation. Real-time reading combines active listening, fully concentrating on the speaker's words and tone, with keen observation of nonverbal cues. Listen not just to what is said, but how it's said. Observe eye movements, hand gestures, posture, and facial expressions. Notice if behaviors sync or conflict with verbal messages. This holistic approach reveals the layers beneath spoken language. Step 5. Trust your intuition, but verify your subconscious mind processes far more nonverbal data than you realize. Sometimes you'll get a gut feeling about someone's true thoughts or emotions. While intuition is valuable, balance it with evidence. Look for multiple supporting signals before drawing conclusions. Step 6. Respond appropriately. Reading minds is only part of the equation. How you respond matters. If you detect discomfort, consider changing your approach to ease tension. If you sense enthusiasm, lean into that energy to deepen engagement. If you spot deception, decide carefully how to proceed, whether to ask clarifying questions or shift topics. Your responses can either deepen trust or cause withdrawal. Use your insight responsibly. Step 7. Practice and reflect. Real-time mind reading improves with practice. Engage in conversations with the intent to observe nonverbal signals consciously. After interactions, reflect on what you noticed and how it matched outcomes. Over time, you'll build sharper perception and quicker interpretation skills. Common scenarios for real-time mind reading: negotiations, detecting hesitation or eagerness to gain leverage. Interviews, reading candidates' confidence or nervousness. Social settings, sensing interest or discomfort to guide conversations. Leadership, understanding team dynamics without explicit feedback. Each setting benefits from heightened nonverbal awareness. Chapter 12. Spotting lies and hidden truths. One of the most sought-after skills in communication is the ability to detect when someone isn't telling the whole truth. People lie for many reasons: fear, self-protection, manipulation, or habit. Yet, the truth often slips out through subtle signs hidden in body language, voice, and micro-expressions. In this chapter, you will learn how to spot deception and uncover hidden truths by observing clusters of behavioral cues. More importantly, you'll understand how to interpret these signals with care, separating suspicion from fact, and using this awareness ethically. Why people lie. Understanding why people lie is the first step. Lies can be self-serving, to protect one's reputation or avoid punishment; altruistic, to protect someone else's feelings; manipulative, to gain advantage or control; habitual, an automatic defense mechanism. The motivations behind deception influence the types of signs they show. Common behavioral signs of deception. While no single behavior guarantees someone is lying, a combination of signals can raise a red flag. Key signs include inconsistent body language, gestures or expressions that don't match verbal content; avoiding eye contact or excessive blinking; discomfort with being observed; micro-expressions of fear, guilt, or contempt; brief flashes that contradict spoken emotion; speech irregularities, hesitations, stammering, higher pitch, or too much detail; self-soothing gestures, rubbing the neck, covering the mouth, or fiddling with objects; body barriers, crossing arms or legs, turning away, or hiding hands; delayed or overly cautious responses, taking too long to answer or overly rehearsed answers. When these behaviors cluster, they suggest cognitive load, the mental effort required to fabricate a story, which often reveals deceit. Micro-expressions. The truth leaks. Micro-expressions are involuntary, fleeting facial expressions that occur in less than a second. They reveal a person's true emotions before they can mask them. Some common micro-expressions linked to deception are brief fear or anxiety, as the person worries about being caught; contempt or disgust when hiding the truth; surprise or shock when confronted unexpectedly. Training yourself to notice these micro-expressions is a powerful tool in spotting lies. Voice clues to watch. Deceptive speech often carries vocal irregularities. Pitch may rise due to nervousness. Speech may speed up or slow down unnaturally. Increased and fillers as the speaker fabricates. Changes in volume or tone that don't align with content. Why comparing vocal cues with baseline speech, you can detect anomalies. Body language contradictions. A major indicator of deception is when the body language contradicts what is said. For example, saying, "I'm fine," with a tense jaw, clenched fists, or averted eyes. Claiming honesty while crossing arms or turning the torso away. Nodding yes while shaking the head subtly or briefly. These mismatches are unconscious. Giveaways. Baseline and cluster analysis. As with all body language reading, establishing a person's baseline is critical. Observe how they behave when relaxed and truthful. Detect deviations when discussing sensitive topics. Look for clusters of deceptive signs rather than isolated actions. Clusters give more accurate indications than any single behavior. Deception and cognitive load. Lying increases cognitive load, the mental effort to maintain a false story. Signs of cognitive load include pausing frequently to think, increased blinking or pupil dilation, Gestures that seem over-rehearsed or unnatural reduced body movement to avoid contradicting themselves. These signs help differentiate nervousness from deception. Ethical considerations in spotting lies. Detecting deception is a skill that carries responsibility. Avoid jumping to conclusions based on suspicion alone. Use your observations to ask better questions, not to accuse prematurely. Respect privacy and handle sensitive information with care. Remember that nervousness or discomfort doesn't always mean lying. Approach this skill with humility and ethical mindfulness. Using spotting skills wisely, knowing when someone is hiding the truth allows you to adjust your communication style, to build trust or clarify doubts. Protect yourself from manipulation or exploitation. Navigate difficult conversations more effectively. Foster deeper honesty by creating a safe space for openness. Your goal isn't to catch someone out, but to understand underlying truths. Chapter 13. Influence through silent communication. Influence is often thought to be the domain of words, persuasion tactics, and rhetoric. Yet, one of the most potent forms of influence happens beneath the surface, in the silent realm of body, language, tone, and unspoken signals. Silent communication holds the power to shape opinions, build trust, and guide decisions without a single word uttered. Mastering this unspoken language can elevate your ability to lead, negotiate, and connect on a profound level. In this chapter, you'll discover how to use silent communication intentionally to increase your influence and inspire those around you. The power of presence. Influence begins with presence, the ability to command attention and respect without saying anything. Your posture, facial expressions, and energy broadcast volumes about your confidence and credibility. Stand tall with open shoulders to convey confidence. Maintain steady, calm eye contact to establish connection and authority. Use deliberate, measured movements to demonstrate control and purpose. Presence creates an invisible pull that draws people toward you, setting the stage for influence. Using body language to persuade. Body language is a silent persuader. It reinforces your message or undermines it. Often more than words can. Increase influence. Mirror subtly to build rapport and trust. Open gestures such as uncrossed arms and palms visible signal honesty and openness. Lean slightly forward to show interest and engagement. Maintain appropriate personal space to respect boundaries and comfort. Use purposeful hand gestures to emphasize points and convey passion. Consistent, congruent body language amplifies your message's impact. The role of eye contact. Eyes are a gateway to trust and influence. Maintaining the right amount of eye contact signals confidence and sincerity. Too little eye contact can appear evasive or insecure. Too much can feel aggressive or intimidating. The ideal is balanced eye contact that shows attention without overwhelming. Use eye contact to connect deeply, signal empathy, and underscore your words. Tone of voice. The invisible influence. Your vocal tone influences how your message is received. A warm, steady tone fosters trust. Variation in pitch and pace keeps listeners engaged. Calm, measured speech communicates confidence and authority. Be mindful that your tone can support or contradict your words. Align tone with message. 4. Maximum influence. Silence as a strategic tool. Silence is a powerful influencer. Pausing at the right moments builds suspense and emphasis. Encourages others to fill the space, revealing more information. Demonstrates calm control and thoughtfulness. Use silence intentionally to guide conversations and negotiations. Reading and responding to nonverbal feedback. Influence is a two-way street. Monitor others' silent signals to gauge their receptiveness. Nod or smile to encourage openness. Notice crossed arms or leaning away as signs to adjust your approach. Match energy levels to build harmony and connection. Being responsive to nonverbal cues shows empathy and increases your persuasive power, creating psychological safety. People are more likely to be influenced when they feel safe and respected. Use open, relaxed body language to create a welcoming atmosphere. Avoid threatening gestures like pointing or invading personal space. Mirror expressions to build subconscious rapport. When psychological safety is established, influence flows naturally. Influence in group dynamics. In groups, silent communication shapes leadership and status. Leaders often exhibit calm, open posture, and controlled gestures. Members mirror the leader's body language to signal alignment. Shifts in posture or orientation indicate changing alliances or attention. Understanding these dynamics allows you to position yourself effectively in groups. Avoiding nonverbal pitfalls. Negative or inconsistent nonverbal signals can undermine influence. Avoid fidgeting or nervous habits that suggest insecurity. Don't cross arms defensively if trying to be open. Ensure your facial expressions match your message. Self-awareness is key to maintaining positive influence. Chapter 14. Reading minds in groups. Reading minds one-on-one is a powerful skill, but understanding the silent language of groups takes this ability to another level. Groups have their own dynamics, rhythms, and unspoken rules, complex webs of interaction where thoughts, emotions, and intentions blend and shift rapidly. In this chapter, you will learn how to observe and interpret the collective and individual signals within groups. You'll discover how to spot leaders, detect alliances, identify tension points, and understand the unspoken flow of group energy. Mastering group mind reading empowers you to navigate social, professional, and organizational settings with confidence and insight. The complexity of group dynamics. Groups are more than just the sum of individuals. They form patterns of behavior, communication, and power that influence how members think and feel. When reading minds in groups, you must observe individual behaviors in context. Notice how people interact and respond to each other. Understand the shifting roles and influence within the group. This complexity demands heightened awareness and the ability to track multiple cues simultaneously. Spotting the leader. Leaders naturally attract attention and influence group dynamics. To identify the leader, watch for open and confident posture, upright stance, relaxed shoulders. Notice who maintains steady eye contact with most group members. Observe who speaks with authority and whose gestures are mirrored by others. See who physically positions themselves centrally or slightly ahead of the group. Detect whose movements others follow or synchronize with. The leader's body language often radiates calm control, while others show subtle signs of deference or alignment. Detecting alliances and subgroups within groups. Smaller alliances often form, signaling shared thoughts or intentions. Look for members who mirror each other's body language more than the rest. People who lean toward one another or orient their bodies in shared directions. Synchronization of gestures, laughter, or facial expressions within the subgroup. Whispered conversations, shared glances, or simultaneous reactions. These signs reveal social bonds, potential conflicts, or cooperative relationships. Reading group energy. Groups emit collective energy that fluctuates based on mood, topic, or leadership. A relaxed group displays open postures, consistent eye contact, and synchronized breathing or movements. A tense group shows crossed arms, fidgeting, averted gazes, and fragmented interactions. Shifts in energy often begin with subtle changes from a few members and ripple through the group. Recognizing group energy helps you anticipate outcomes and adjust your approach. Microexpressions and group emotions. Microexpressions happen quickly and can reveal collective feelings even if unspoken. Watch for simultaneous expressions of surprise, skepticism, or agreement. Notice if smiles appear genuine or forced across the group. Look for quick flashes of negative emotions, disgust, or contempt that might indicate underlying conflicts. These fleeting moments offer windows into the group's true emotional state. Power of orientation and proximity. Where people position themselves and how they orient their body speaks volumes. Facing towards someone signals engagement and alignment. Turning away or angling the body indicates disinterest or distancing. Standing or sitting closer shows trust or alliance, while physical distance suggests discomfort or opposition. Spatial relationships reveal the invisible social map within the group. Detecting deception and discomfort in groups. Deception and discomfort don't disappear in groups. They often intensify or spread. Watch for individuals whose behavior differs markedly from the group norm. Spot members who avoid eye contact or physically distance themselves during sensitive topics. Notice nervous gestures such as fidgeting or covering the mouth. Identifying outliers helps you uncover hidden tensions or secrets within the group. Using group reading to influence and lead. Understanding group mind reading enhances your ability to Guide group discussions and manage conflicts. Build consensus by recognizing unspoken agreements or objections. Position yourself as a leader by aligning with group energy and key members. Navigate social politics and strengthen relationships. Your silent insight becomes a strategic advantage. Practical tips for reading minds in groups. Scan the whole group. First, to get a sense of overall mood and dynamics. Focus on individuals, especially those who stand out or dominate. Watch for changes as conversations evolve. Shift your attention to those who react most. Be patient. Group signals can be subtle and layered. Combine observations of body language, vocal tone, and facial expressions for a full picture. Chapter 15. Emotional intelligence without words. Emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and manage emotions, is often linked to verbal communication. Yet, much of emotional intelligence unfolds silently through the subtle signals our bodies send and receive. Mastering emotional intelligence without words deepens your capacity to connect, empathize, and respond authentically to others' feelings. In this chapter, you will explore how to cultivate emotional intelligence by tuning into the silent language of emotions, harnessing nonverbal cues to navigate relationships with greater insight and compassion. Understanding emotional intelligence at its core. Emotional intelligence, EI, consists of four key components: self-awareness, recognizing your own emotions; self-regulation, managing your emotional responses; social awareness, sensing others' emotions and needs; relationship management, using emotional understanding to guide interactions. All these aspects can be enhanced through observing and interpreting nonverbal communication. The silent language of emotion. Emotions are often expressed physically before we even put them into words. Facial expressions, posture, gestures, and tone of voice reveal feelings like happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, and disgust. Learning to read these silent emotional signals gives you a real-time window into what someone is experiencing beneath their words. Reading others' emotions nonverbally. Key nonverbal indicators of emotions include facial expressions. Genuine smiles engage the eyes. Furrowed brows signal confusion or frustration. Body posture. Open posture suggests receptiveness. Closed posture may indicate defensiveness. Breathing. Rapid breathing often accompanies anxiety. Slow, deep breaths suggest calmness. Eye contact. Steady gaze reflects confidence or interest. Avoidance may reveal discomfort or insecurity. Gestures. Fidgeting can show nervousness. Purposeful movements often reflect confidence. By combining these cues, you decode the emotional state without a single word. Empathy. Feeling without speaking. Empathy is the ability to feel what others feel and respond with compassion. Nonverbal communication is the bridge for empathy. When you observe someone's silent signals, you tap into their emotional experience. Mirroring their body language and expressions fosters connection and understanding. Responding to these cues with patience and care builds trust and rapport. Silent empathy creates deeper bonds than words alone ever could. Managing your own emotions nonverbally. Emotional intelligence isn't just about reading others. It also involves regulating your own emotions silently. Use deep breathing and grounded posture to maintain calm. Be aware of your facial expressions and gestures, ensuring they match your intended message. Control tone and pacing in your speech to avoid unintended emotional signals. Your own nonverbal cues influence others' emotional responses profoundly. Recognizing emotional triggers in silent signals. People often reveal what triggers them through nonverbal signs. Tightened jaw or clenched fists signal frustration. Avoiding eye contact or withdrawing posture shows discomfort. Sudden shifts in breathing or muscle tension indicate stress. Recognizing these triggers allows you to adjust your approach and avoid escalating tension. Building emotional safety without words. Emotional safety is essential for open communication and trust. Create it by maintaining open posture and warm facial expressions. Use gentle nods and slow, reassuring gestures. Respect personal space and avoid sudden movements. This silent reassurance encourages others to lower their defenses and share authentically. Harnessing emotional intelligence to influence understanding and responding to emotions nonverbally increases your influence. People are drawn to those who get them on an emotional level. Responding appropriately to silent cues builds credibility and rapport. Emotional attunement allows you to guide conversations and resolve conflicts effectively. Silent emotional intelligence is a powerful leadership tool. Practicing emotional intelligence in daily life to cultivate emotional intelligence without words. Observe the emotional atmosphere in your surroundings. Practice mindful breathing and body awareness. Reflect on how your nonverbal signals affect others. Seek feedback on your silent communication skills. With consistent practice, your emotional intelligence will flourish. Chapter 16. Decoding romantic and sexual signals. Romantic and sexual attraction is one of the most primal forms of human communication, yet much of it is conveyed silently through subtle, often subconscious, signals. Understanding these nonverbal cues allows you to better navigate intimate connections, recognize interest, and respond with sensitivity and respect. In this chapter, you will learn how to decode the complex body language and vocal signals associated with romantic and sexual attraction, skills that deepen your awareness of interpersonal dynamics and enhance your emotional intelligence in relationships. The nature of romantic and sexual signals. Romantic and sexual signals are a blend of evolutionary biology, social conditioning, and individual personality. They serve as invitations, boundaries, or tests of compatibility, often communicated before words are spoken. These signals include proximity and physical orientation, eye contact and pupil dilation, touch and gestures, vocal tone and breathing patterns, facial expressions, and smiles. Decoding these cues helps you understand unspoken desires and intentions. Proximity and physical orientation. One of the clearest indicators of romantic or sexual interest is how close someone chooses to be physically and how they position their body. Decreasing personal space, leaning in, standing, or sitting closer than usual signals. Attraction and comfort. Open body orientation, facing you directly with shoulders and feet aimed towards you, shows engagement. Mirroring movements, subtly copying your gestures and posture, reflects connection and rapport. Turning away or angled posture may indicate discomfort or lack of interest. Pay attention to shifts in proximity and orientation. They reveal evolving feelings. Eye contact and pupil dilation. The eyes are often called the windows to the soul, and in romantic contexts, they speak volumes. Sustained eye contact signals interest and emotional connection. Frequent glances or quick looks away may indicate nervousness or coyness. Pupil dilation, though subtle, occurs naturally when someone is attracted to you, reflecting heightened arousal. Softened gaze conveys warmth and openness. Learning to read these eye signals helps you understand emotional states beyond spoken words. Touch and gestures. Touch is a powerful form of silent communication in romantic and sexual contexts. Light, casual touches on the arm, shoulder, or back can be invitations or expressions of affection. Playing with hair or jewelry may signal flirtation and self-consciousness. Open palms and relaxed hands suggest receptivity, while clenched fists or hidden hands might indicate nervousness or discomfort. Subtle leaning into touch signals comfort and desire for closeness. Respect boundaries by noting how touch is initiated and reciprocated. Vocal tone and breathing patterns. Voice and breathing provide important clues about attraction and emotional arousal. Softer, slower speech can indicate intimacy and tenderness. Breathiness or slight changes in pitch often accompany flirtation or sexual excitement. Faster, shallower breathing may signal nervousness or anticipation. Pauses and laughter serve as social lubricants, indicating comfort and engagement. Attuning to these vocal cues enriches your understanding of emotional connection. Facial expressions and smiles. Facial expressions convey a wide spectrum of emotions linked to romantic interest. Genuine smiles engage the muscles around the eyes and reflect true pleasure. Biting or licking lips can be subconscious signs of attraction. Raised eyebrows often indicate surprise or interest. Flushed cheeks reveal physiological arousal. Watch for clusters of these expressions to gauge genuine attraction. Reading the signs responsibly while decoding romantic and sexual signals is valuable. It is crucial to approach this skill with respect and ethical awareness. Never assume consent based solely on nonverbal cues. Be attentive to discomfort or withdrawal signals and respect boundaries. Recognize that cultural differences affect how signals are expressed. Use this awareness to foster genuine connection, not manipulation. Consent and mutual respect are the foundation of all healthy relationships. Common mistakes and misinterpretations. It's easy to misread signals, especially in emotionally charged situations. Confusing friendliness or politeness for attraction, overinterpreting isolated gestures without context, ignoring signs of discomfort or disinterest, assuming all signals mean the same across individuals. Always consider the full picture. Context, consistency, and verbal communication matter. Practical tips for decoding romantic signals. Observe baseline behavior first to spot deviations that indicate interest. Look for clusters of signals rather than isolated signs. Pay attention to reciprocal behavior. Are gestures and expressions returned? Be patient and allow signals to develop naturally over time. Trust your intuition, but verify through clear, respectful communication. Chapter 17. Using body language in negotiation. Negotiation is as much a silent exchange as it is a verbal one. The words you choose matter, but your body language often reveals your true position, feelings, and intentions, and it influences the responses you receive. Understanding and mastering body language in negotiations gives you a strategic advantage, allowing you to build rapport, detect resistance, and steer outcomes more effectively. In this chapter, you will learn how to read and use body language consciously to become a more persuasive and confident negotiator. The role of body language in negotiation. Negotiation is a dynamic interaction that involves signals of power, cooperation, trust, and resistance. Your posture, gestures, eye contact, and facial expressions communicate volumes, sometimes confirming, sometimes contradicting your words. Key reasons body language matters in negotiation. It reveals true feelings behind spoken statements. It helps you build or break rapport quickly. It signals confidence or uncertainty. It provides clues about the other party's intentions or flexibility. Reading and controlling these signals influences the negotiation's flow and outcome, establishing a confident presence. Confidence is critical in negotiation, and your body language is the foundation of this presence. Stand or sit upright with shoulders back and chest open. Keep your head level to show calm assurance. Avoid fidgeting or nervous gestures that signal uncertainty. Maintain steady, respectful eye contact to build trust and authority. Your confident presence encourages cooperation and commands respect. Using open posture to build trust. Open body language invites collaboration and signals honesty. Keep your arms uncrossed and hands visible, ideally resting calmly on the table or in your lap. Avoid turning your body away or closing yourself off with defensive gestures. Use open palms occasionally to emphasize transparency. These signals create a positive atmosphere that fosters mutual understanding. Reading the other party's body language. Pay close attention to the other party's nonverbal cues to gauge their feelings and flexibility. Crossed arms or legs may indicate defensiveness or resistance. Leaning forward usually signals interest and engagement. Leaning back might suggest discomfort or disengagement. Rapid blinking or tapping fingers can show nervousness or impatience. Microexpressions of frustration, surprise, or doubt offer insights into their true emotions. Spotting these signs helps you adjust your strategy on the fly. The power of mirroring. Mirroring the other party's body language subtly builds rapport and creates a sense of connection. Match their posture, gestures, and tone gently and naturally. Avoid mimicking overtly, which can feel mocking or manipulative. Use mirroring to encourage openness and cooperation. Mirroring establishes an unspoken bond that can facilitate smoother negotiations. Using gestures to emphasize points. Purposeful hand gestures help clarify your message and demonstrate confidence. Use open-handed gestures when explaining or inviting collaboration. Avoid pointing aggressively, which can provoke defensiveness. Use controlled movements to underscore key points. Balanced gesturing enhances your persuasive power. Controlling facial expressions. Your facial expressions influence how your words are received. Maintain a calm, neutral expression to avoid revealing frustration or impatience. Use occasional smiles to create warmth and ease tension. Be mindful of microexpressions that may betray your true feelings. Expressive but controlled facial cues. Support your negotiating position. Eye contact. Balancing engagement and pressure. Effective eye contact builds trust, but should be balanced to avoid intimidation. Maintain steady eye contact during key moments. Break gaze occasionally to reduce pressure and allow reflection. Watch the other party's eye movements for signs of discomfort or interest. Balanced eye contact facilitates open dialogue and signals confidence. Reading silence and pauses. Silence is a powerful tool in negotiation, often speaking louder than words. Use pauses after making a point to let it sink in. Notice when the other party uses silence. It can indicate hesitation or a strategic move. Resist the urge to fill every silence. It can strengthen your position. Silence creates space for reflection. And signals control. Managing personal space. Respecting and managing physical distance influences comfort and openness. Avoid invading personal space, which can create defensiveness. Notice if the other party moves closer. This signals interest or openness. If they move away, consider adjusting your approach to reduce tension. Appropriate spacing fosters trust and cooperation. Reading deceptive signals. Negotiations can involve deception or concealment. Look for inconsistencies between verbal claims and body language. Watch for microexpressions of discomfort or guilt. Notice signs of increased cognitive load, such as frequent pauses or fidgeting. Spotting deception allows you to probe further or adjust your tactics. Chapter 18. Cross-cultural body language. In our increasingly globalized world, the ability to read minds without words requires more than just understanding universal human signals. It demands sensitivity to cross-cultural differences in body language, because gestures, expressions, and postures can carry very different meanings depending on cultural context. Misinterpreting nonverbal cues across cultures can lead to misunderstandings, offense, or missed opportunities for connection. In this chapter, you will learn how to navigate these complexities with awareness, respect, and adaptability, enabling you to communicate effectively and empathetically in diverse settings. The cultural lens of body language. Every culture develops its own silent language, shaped by history, values, social norms, and communication styles. What is considered polite or positive in one culture may be rude or negative in another. For example, a firm handshake signals confidence in many Western cultures, but can be perceived as aggressive or inappropriate in others. Direct eye contact is a sign of honesty in some societies, but may be considered disrespectful or challenging in others. Personal space varies widely. Standing too close or too far can cause discomfort depending on cultural expectations. Understanding these cultural lenses is essential for accurate interpretation. Universal versus culture-specific signals. While many body language signals are universal, such as genuine smiles or expressions of basic emotions, others are culture-specific. Universal signals, smiling, frowning, fear, surprise, and disgust, tend to be recognized worldwide. Culture-specific signals, gestures like thumbs up, nodding, or head shaking may vary drastically in meaning. Being aware of which signals are universal and which are culture-bound helps prevent misreading others. Eye contact across cultures. Eye contact is one of the most culturally sensitive nonverbal cues. In Western cultures, maintaining eye contact often signals confidence and attentiveness. In many Asian, Middle Eastern, and indigenous cultures, prolonged eye contact can be seen as disrespectful or confrontational. In some African cultures, avoiding eye contact can signify respect for authority. Adapting your eye contact style to the cultural context shows respect and improves communication. Gestures and their varied meanings. Gestures vary widely and can have dramatically different meanings. The OK sign, thumb and forefinger forming a circle, is positive in some countries but offensive in others. Nodding generally means agreement but can mean disagreement in parts of the Balkans and Middle East. Pointing with the index finger is common in Western cultures but rude in many Asian societies. The thumbs up gesture is positive in the US but offensive in parts of the Middle East and Latin America. Before using or interpreting gestures, research the cultural context to avoid misunderstandings. Personal space and touch norms. Around personal space and physical contact vary significantly. In Latin American and Mediterranean cultures, closer personal distance and more frequent touch are common in social and professional interactions. Northern European and East Asian cultures often value greater personal space and limited physical contact. Handshakes, hugs, cheek kisses, or bows differ widely as greeting rituals. Being attuned to these norms helps you create comfort and rapport. Posture and status. Posture and the way people carry themselves can communicate status and respect differently. In some cultures, sitting or standing straight with an open chest signals confidence and respect. In others, lowering the body slightly or avoiding direct posture can show deference to elders or authority figures. Feet positioning, such as not pointing feet toward someone, can also hold cultural significance. Observing and adapting to these posture cues facilitates smoother interactions. Facial expressions and emotional display. Cultural norms govern which emotions are openly displayed and how. Some cultures encourage overt emotional expression, while others value restraint and composure. For example, in many East Asian cultures, maintaining a neutral expression avoids loss of face, even when feeling strong emotions. In Mediterranean and Latin cultures, passionate facial expressions are more common and accepted. Recognizing these norms prevents misjudging sincerity or engagement. Adapting your nonverbal communication to communicate effectively across cultures. Research and observe before interacting. Learn key norms and taboos. Mirror respectfully, adapting your gestures and posture to match the cultural style. Be patient and flexible. Misunderstandings are natural, but willingness to learn builds bridges. Ask for clarification when unsure, using polite verbal or nonverbal cues. Cultural sensitivity in body language demonstrates respect and opens doors. Challenges and opportunities. Navigating cross-cultural body language can be challenging but rewarding. Misinterpretations can create friction or mistrust. Yet, mastering this skill fosters deeper understanding, connection, and collaboration. It enhances your ability to lead diverse teams, negotiate internationally, and build global relationships. The effort to decode cultural nonverbal cues is an investment in successful communication. Chapter 19. How to practice the mind reading skill. Mastering the art of reading minds without words is a journey, one that requires patience, observation, and consistent practice. This skill, like any other, improves over time through deliberate effort and mindful application. The good news is that everyone can develop it with the right approach. In this chapter, you will discover practical methods and exercises to sharpen your ability to decode silent signals, interpret emotions, and understand unspoken thoughts with greater accuracy and confidence. Start with awareness. The foundation of mind reading is heightened awareness. Begin by simply observing people around you. Notice how they move, gesture, and express emotions nonverbally. Pay attention to their facial expressions, eye movements, and posture. Listen closely to vocal tone, pacing, and pauses. Practice this in everyday settings, on public transport, at work, or social gatherings. The more you observe, the more natural it becomes. Establish a baseline. A critical skill in nonverbal reading is establishing a person's baseline behavior, their typical, relaxed state. Observe someone when they are calm and comfortable. Note their natural gestures, facial expressions, and speech patterns. Compare deviations from this baseline during different emotional states or conversations. Baseline awareness helps you spot when something unusual or significant occurs. Focus on clusters of cues. Avoid jumping to conclusions based on a single gesture or expression. Instead, look for clusters of signals that reinforce each other. For example, a person may avoid eye contact, fidget, and have a tense posture when uncomfortable. Clusters increase the reliability of your interpretations. This holistic approach reduces misreading and enhances accuracy. Practice active listening and observation. Mind reading involves both seeing and hearing. Listen not only to words, but also to how they are spoken. Observe inconsistencies between verbal and nonverbal communication. Note pauses, hesitations, or changes in tone that suggest underlying thoughts or feelings. Active engagement strengthens your connection to others' unspoken messages. Engage in mindful reflection after conversations or observations. Reflect on what you noticed about the other person's nonverbal cues. Consider what these signals might have meant in context. Compare your interpretations with what was eventually said or revealed. Reflection deepens your understanding and hones your skill. Use empathy to enhance understanding. Empathy is central to mind reading. Put yourself in others' shoes. Imagine what they might be feeling or thinking based on their nonverbal cues. Consider their perspective, background, and emotional state. Respond with compassion and patience. Empathy bridges the gap between observation and genuine insight. Practice in safe and varied settings. Develop your skill gradually. Start with low-stakes environments like casual social gatherings. Observe different types of people, friends, colleagues, strangers. Practice interpreting signals in one-on-one and group situations. Varied practice builds versatility and confidence. Seek feedback and learn when appropriate. Test your interpretations by asking open-ended questions that invite honesty. Sharing your observations gently to see if they resonate. Being open to correction and learning from mistakes. Feedback refines your accuracy and deepens trust. Train your memory and attention. Mind reading demands good memory and focus. Practice remembering details about people's behaviors and responses. Use mindfulness exercises to improve attention to subtle cues. Avoid distractions to stay fully present during interactions. That a sharp mind captures more nuances in silent communication. Use technology and resources. Leverage tools and resources to enhance practice. Watch videos or recordings of conversations to analyze body language. Read books and articles on psychology, communication, and nonverbal behavior. Attend workshops or join groups focused on interpersonal skills. Continuous learning accelerates mastery. Be patient and persistent. Mind reading is a skill developed over time. Expect gradual improvement rather than overnight mastery. Celebrate small successes and learn from setbacks. Maintain curiosity and openness to growth. Consistency and patience are your greatest allies. Chapter 20. When reading minds goes too far. The ability to read minds without speaking is a powerful skill, one that can deepen understanding, improve relationships, and enhance communication. However, like any potent tool, it carries responsibilities and limits. When pushed beyond appropriate boundaries, mind reading can invade privacy, foster misjudgments, or create discomfort. In this chapter, you will explore the risks of overusing or misapplying this skill, the ethical considerations involved, and strategies to maintain respect and balance in your silent communication practices. The fine line between insight and intrusion. Mind reading is fundamentally about empathy and observation. Yet, it can become intrusive when you interpret too much without sufficient evidence. You make assumptions about someone's private thoughts or feelings without their consent. You use the skill to manipulate or control others rather than to connect. Respect for others' mental privacy is crucial. Remember, nonverbal cues offer clues, not definitive facts. Risks of misinterpretation. Nonverbal communication is complex and context-dependent. Overreading signals can lead to false conclusions about intentions or emotions, misunderstandings that harm relationships, unintended offense or conflict. Avoid jumping to conclusions based on partial information. Always seek confirmation through open dialogue when appropriate. Emotional burden and boundaries. Constantly reading others' unspoken feelings can be emotionally taxing. You may absorb negative emotions or stress unconsciously. Overanalyzing social situations can lead to anxiety or hypervigilance. It's essential to set mental boundaries to protect your well-being. Practice self-care and balance observation with personal emotional limits. Ethical use of mind reading. Using silent communication ethically means respecting others' autonomy and privacy, avoiding manipulative tactics or deceit, using your insights to support, not exploit, relationships, being honest and transparent when appropriate. Ethical awareness ensures your skill builds trust rather than suspicion. When to step back. Recognize situations where mind reading is inappropriate or harmful. When someone clearly wishes for privacy or space in highly sensitive or traumatic contexts without consent. If your interpretations cause you or others distress. When over-reliance on nonverbal cues impedes open communication. Knowing when to step back preserves respect and harmony. Balancing mind reading with verbal communication. Silent signals supplement, not replace, clear verbal communication. Use your observations to guide conversations, not to dictate them. Encourage openness by asking questions rather than assuming. Be willing to share your own thoughts and feelings honestly. Balance creates clarity and mutual understanding. Avoiding manipulation, the skill of reading minds carries the temptation to influence covertly. Resist using it to pressure or deceive others. Influence should come from genuine connection, not hidden agendas. Transparency and consent are vital for ethical influence. Honest communication fosters lasting trust.